Hello and welcome to GameRomp Easy Mode, an easygoing podcast where my wife and I talk about the video games we play and, video game stuff in general. I'm David.
I'm Deanna.
And today will be a kind of special one because we finally got around to playing Suikoden 2 with Deanna.
And you're very excited about this game.
I do love this game. Suikoden 2 is the first Suikoden I played, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I think you can skip the first one, start with 2. If you really like 2, you can play 1 as kind of a prequel. Because there's not a lot in it that...
It's okay to play it out of order.
Yeah. Like, there's some returning characters, some of the ones you've met already, and it's like it doesn't really impact your understanding or liking of the story because they've moved on from that part of their lives. So it's not like a continuation. It's like there's these characters again, but now they're doing other stuff.
It's like a sequel, but like not a sequel. They just decide to like reuse the title because it's like, oh, you maybe already played this game back in the day, so it's
reusing the title too because it is set in the same world. It's like in a neighboring country.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I kind of wanted you to play through it. I guess I wanted to play it with you, just to like show you this really important JRPG that's like probably one of the best ever made.
Yeah, I know. I'm not much of a JRPG player.
No. Have you played any JRPGs? I guess just Pokemon, if you want to count that.
Yeah,
Dragon Quest IX.
Yeah, well, I didn't make it too far into that. It was cute, but I think I had an issue with the grinding or whatever.
This game has no grinding, which we'll get into at some point, but yeah, well, I don't know. I guess we can just start. This is going to be spoilers. Up until, let's just say...
Joey does something really bad.
Yeah, the spoilers for Suikoden 2 up until the point when you don't get to have Joey anymore.
Joey leaves the group.
Yeah, basically. So if you've played up until that part, then you're fine to listen. If you haven't, it's probably like 4 or 5 hours into the game.
Yeah, it's like not super far into it.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming this is like a regular 20-hour game, maybe. I don't know how long it's projected to be.
I don't remember. RPGs back in these days were considered long, but for today's standards, they're not like super long. I doubt this game would take you more than like 30 hours, even if you were super completionist, maybe 40 at most. Anyway, so yeah, full spoilers from here on out for Suikoden 2, a game that is amazing and you should play if you like JRPGs.
And like, how old is this game? Like, I feel like if people wanted to play this, they could have played it already. I mean, granted, it just re-released, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, this new re-release is a great opportunity for people to jump back in because they've touched up the translation a bit, so it's not quite as, I don't want to say broken, but there were some issues with the old translation.
A little janky.
There is a few issues with the new translation too, so it's not perfect, but it's overall better. So yeah, if you want to play Suikoden 2, play whatever version you want, but definitely play it before listening. I mean, yeah, this is going to have a little bit of a spoiler towards the end, but it's still early game stuff, so I'll leave it up to you. You decide if you want to hang out or not. We're going to talk about it, and we're not going to hold back on story stuff. So let's jump right in.
Okay.
There's a lot of reasons why I wanted to share this game with you. Not only the story, but also just like the general like atmosphere and visuals and sounds of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2D art, pixel style, so like, it looks good regardless of how old it is.
And it's been touched up. The sprites are the same, but the backgrounds are remarkably upgraded. Like, holy cow.
I guess you would have to show me the difference, because I've only just seen this one, or at least that I remember, and it just looks good. It's just basic good.
Yeah, especially the first scene. The first scene with, when they're in the forest at night, like, just the rivers and the waterfall and everything. Like, wow, they did a really good job. So yeah, I guess let me ask you this then before we continue into the story stuff. Like,
okay,
what were your very first initial impressions of this game, even before we played it? Like, what did you know going into it? What did you think, like, of me asking you to play this? Were you dreading it or whatever?
Assuming I thought deep enough about it, I don't know. It was just another JRPG.
Oh, good. So you didn't have too many preconceived notions.
I think I might have remembered that this game had something about like the 108 characters, but beyond that, yeah, I don't...
Awesome. Okay, that's great.
I don't remember anything.
Okay, cool. That's really good. I didn't know how much you knew about the story or the characters or what happens.
No.
Or even that it was kind of like sort of a political story.
I mean, I could have probably guessed that since I know like other JRPGs that you really enjoyed tend to have that in common.
Okay, cool. We'll start with what happens at the beginning. Like, we start off when we're controlling Ryu, which is, I guess, the canonical name, but like it's not pre-selected in the thing like some JRPGs do. But yeah, we just went with the canonical name. I remember when I first played this, I just named him David because I didn't know any better. So we start off controlling Ryu, and we're like, I guess you would say like a little camp with other soldiers, but we're all like part of this thing called the Youth Brigade. They're just like, I don't know, teenagers. I don't think the ages are ever canonically mentioned anywhere.
No, it doesn't seem like it. Like, until they brought up that it was like, oh, the unicorn, for some reason, Unicorn Youth Brigade. They all just, I guess it's because they're sprites. They didn't look like kids to me.
They're all like the same size-ish. It's not like the adults are super much taller. But again, it's because they're like teenagers too, so they're basically full grown. And we're just wandering around this area. And again, for me, it was like, whoa, it's so cool to see everything in this new
High
HD backgrounds. Yeah, like you still got the classic sprites, but you got the new backgrounds, and it looks really good. Well, it doesn't take long until like shit starts hitting the fan.
Because you like have to go to bed, and then you go to bed, and then suddenly everything's on fucking fire.
Yeah, like right before that, you can walk around and talk to people, but like, don't get too attached to anybody. The little camp gets under attack, and you basically have to run away. But then one of the Jowies like, wait a minute, we should go this other way. And then you go back to camp, and you see like, oh no, we've been double crossed by our captain, right? So then they run off up to this like mountain area with like a waterfall. And that's where they make this important for later pact about meeting up here if we ever get split up. And then they jump off the waterfall. And then plays this really good moment where it's like just, I guess you would consider it like a...
Is it like the memory cutscene?
Yeah, it's like what is it called in a movie or a TV show? Like the intro... I'm having a brain fart with this word. Intro credits, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like a couple minutes of just like, credits of the creators' names, but it's all placed over like, I think the song is Reminiscence. And it's just, the sepia-toned background of like, oh, Jowie and Ryu growing up together. And like, then they joined the military, I guess, or the Unicorn Brigade for the kids of that town. And oh my God, I feel like I should just re-say all that. Anyway, the intro is it's beautiful. Like, just the way it's all put together with the music. It just, I don't know, man. It's so good. It's hard to explain in words, but once you're done with that intro, it gets back to like you get rescued by Victor, and they take you to this fort, and they're like...
I thought this part was funny, because like, I guess they like take you prisoner.
Yeah.
But they're pretty chill about it. They don't actually seem all that bad. They were having me do chores, I guess, or whatever, and I'm like, this doesn't seem too bad. Like, you have a place to sleep. It literally doesn't seem that much worse than being in the Unicorn Brigade.
Yeah, and I mean, considering everything that just happened, it's like, it's kind of comforting in a way. At least they're not trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Returning players from Suikoden 1 will realize that, like, oh, this is Victor from the first game. So, like, they probably already would know, like, these aren't going to be bad people. But for someone that hasn't played Suikoden 1, which I didn't at the time, I had no idea. So it's like, oh, out of the fire, what is the expression? Out
of the pan into the fire.
Yeah. But like you said, it's pretty chill. They have you do a bunch of random stuff. At some point, you have to run a little errand with Gen. Yeah, the little dog man. He's kind of funny. And, you're there for a bit until Jowie comes to rescue you. Well, Jowie fucks it up and he gets captured too.
What a dum-dum.
Yeah, but it's good to my old friend, he's okay. Because at first you don't know if he survived. But he was rescued by a different family in a different town. And he helps you break out. Even though at this point...
sort of.
Yeah, at this point you were like, you didn't really want to, but...
Yeah, it's like, why can't we just stay?
I think the thing is, though, like, as much as you might feel that, the character also has his sister back home. So it's like...
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
They decide we're going to go back home and, maybe everything will be okay. It'll tell people what happened. But before that, you got to go to this town and you find the circus people, right? And you get knives thrown at you as an act, and then they join you. So this is the first time you have about 5 characters in your party.
Quick question. If you move, is there any chance that she accidentally hits you or something? Or is it just like...
I don't think so.
That'd be funny. She accidentally, like, nicks you or something and then, like, down to half health.
I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, you get a party of 5 here to go through this mountain pass, and we watch one of the older sister, like, do something with the guard.
You know exactly what they were implying about that.
Yeah, there's some implications there, but we won't go into that. Go through this mountain pass, and you get like a nice taste of the battle system, which is like pretty zippy with 5 characters. Especially later when you get 6. Like, if you've played a game like Final Fantasy or, God forbid, Pokemon, imagine controlling like 6 characters each turn. Sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
But in this game, it's like, not only is it pretty fast, but like they
can actually attack it like 2 at the same time.
Yeah, like there's people just jumping around like really fast. It's very satisfying. The first boss is like a fog monster, and it's basically like in one mode it does single target damage, in the other mode it does like AoE, but it wasn't too bad. We get to their hometown finally, which is called Kiaro, I think. Something
like that, yeah.
And you meet Nanami, right?
Yeah, Nanami's cute.
Yeah, and they have that intro with her where she like comes and like tackles you, and she's like, "Where have you been?" And like all this like bespoke animation that just like they made for this one scene. And that's another thing about Suikoden 2. Like, it's a sprite-based game,
but it's very detailed.
Yeah, everything they do, it has to be a new drawing. Whereas like if you're doing something in 3D, like you make the model and then you animate it, sure, but like when you're doing with sprites, like everything has to be drawn. And they pulled no punches. Like, there's so many moments in this game where like you'll see an animation that plays once and you'll never see it again. So that was like another thing that's like really fun about this game.
And like, I don't know how they do this, and I'm sure other people that work with sprites can do this too, but it's just, especially with Nanami, I don't know if it's specifically these starting scenes, it's like 2 pixels and she looks up or something, and it's just like, you can, I don't know, it's weird. Like, there's 2 pixels that move, and somehow your mind's eye just kind of like, your imagination goes wild with it, and it's just like, it feels detailed even though it's just 2 pixels. Like, does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, her face, like her eyes are like 2 pixels, but yeah.
But like, you can tell when she looks up, or
yeah.
if she looks away or something. I don't know how.
They do even like subtle movements in the sprites. They animate it so well. There's plenty of times even later on, which we'll get to later, when they're like waiting at the sunset, like people just lifting their heads slightly, looking to the left, looking to the right, and like the blinking. They do such a good job with it. So anyways, we're back home, and well, the captain finds you and you get captured and you're set to be executed. But luckily, old Victor and his pal Flick are there to rescue you, and you get cut down and you're able to escape, and Nanami comes rushing out like anime style, like she was going to come rescue you too. Also, we picked up
Muku. Yeah. Oh yeah, because you're like, look at this tree like 4 times in a row, and then suddenly this character just pops out. I was like, oh, okay.
It's not like a super hidden. I mean, I guess it's kind of hidden because you wouldn't have found that without knowing.
Yeah, especially since you have to do it 3 or 4 times.
I think there's a way later on in the game to recruit him too, but it involves like you have to go out of the fort by yourself, and he appears in a random battle, and if Ryu is by himself, he'll join or something. I don't know. But I knew about him ahead of time, so I told you to do that, to grab an extra character, and it turned out to be good because I've forgotten how powerful Muku Muku actually is. He's just a little flying squirrel, but he hits pretty strong. You don't have to worry about upgrading him. Anyway, we get rescued, we go back to the fort, and at this point the game's like, okay, you're with Victor and Flick now. Run around this world map and try to recruit some characters and explore a bit. So we go to Ryubi Village, which is that village where we met the circus people, and like we do some side quests there, right? We help that girl find her like weird dog.
Oh, yeah. Does she call it a dog specifically?
No, she just calls it her pet, Bonaparte.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be like a dog or something too, and then we find it, and it's just like this little monster creature. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah. It almost seems like a dog at first, but it has like 6 eyes like a spider. And it also has like this, it's kind of like a mole where it goes underground and then comes out and like it'll suck something up and chew on it.
Nom 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 nom.
You basically have to fight it as a boss, but it wasn't too bad. We recruit a few other people too, like the guy that was like hanging out by the restaurant and he was hungry. And then there was
I don't think we've ever used him.
No, he's pretty good though. These beginner characters aren't amazing, but as far as like the few starter ones, he's not too bad. He's better than the other guy we found who was like, I don't even remember his name. No, there's a guy in Toto Village, and he's like, I think Nanami was like, we don't know who you are, we don't really care, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll show you how good I am, and he joins you.
Oh, that guy, yeah. He seems full of himself.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe he's okay, but we benched him. That's the thing too, like there's so many characters that you can bench who you don't like and just use people you do like. Eventually we also find Kinnison and his wolf Shido.
I like Shido.
After that we go to Toto Village to meet with Pilika. Let me double check her name. Yeah, Pilika. It's a weird name.
No.
And apparently her family's the one that rescued Joey when he like washed up on the river. So you got rescued by Victor, he got rescued by Pilika's family. And Pilika's like, oh, I wanted to buy my dad this pendant I found, so I'm going to give you my allowance. Can you go buy it for me?
She saved up, what, like 70?
Yeah, like 60 or 70.
What's the currency they use? Like
Poch.
Poch.
Yeah. It's funny because when she gives you the money, normally when you get Poch in the game, it's like, oh, you found 60 Poch or whatever. But the game like specifically is like, I forget the exact wording it uses, but it's like Pilika gives you a treasured 60 Poch, like something like, this is so special to her that she's been saving it up, right? You go to town and you buy the thing, and yeah, it's way more than that. But it's like, fine, whatever, we'll cover it.
Yeah, it's like 500 Poch.
And we're using the remake, or this remaster has an optional thing in the beginning where you can start with a lot of money.
Yeah, we took the cheaty way with this.
Because, like, I mean, I've already beat this game, and saving some grinding time for money is, like, I'm not going to cry about it. It starts you off with some money and a couple of runes that help you earn more money and more XP, if you want to use those. It's just nice, because then when you're upgrading weapons, that can get expensive. It's just one less thing to worry about. We're not really here for, like, min-maxing stuff.
We're here for the story.
Yeah. And I asked Deanna, too, like, if she wanted to make sure to get the good ending, or just play through whichever way and see what happens.
Yeah, I just want to play through and see what happens first.
That's how I experienced the game the first time too. And honestly, that's how I'd say for most people. Don't worry about getting all 106 characters. Just play the game blind, enjoy it. Is it 8 or is it 106?
Yeah, it's 108 because it's the Buddhist.
Oh, okay. We get the thing, come back, and the town's destroyed.
Uh-oh.
Everyone's dead except Pilika because her dad was like, go hide in our, special little hiding place.
Poor Pilika.
So we go back to tell Victor and them that like, oh, Toto Village has been destroyed. And then they're like, oh crap, okay, I guess the Highland Army, which again, I don't think if I explained, but we're in the city-states now, but Joey and Ryu and Nanami are from the Highland Army. Is it called Highland? I think it's just called the Highland Empire, which is the neighboring country. So Highland is invading. They basically used the massacre of the Unicorn Brigade as like a false flag operation, I guess, in modern terms.
Yeah, they sacrificed their youth brigade, their kids, to make it seem like the city-states had attacked them, but really they just set their own kids on fire.
Yeah.
Because they're working for a maniac. Who knew?
Yeah, like, well, the politics of it will come in clear way, way later. Like, we haven't really found out, like, what's this guy's deal. But,
Maybe he has brain worms.
there is some reason to it. It's not, like, an excuse to it, but yeah, he's witnessed some really fucked up stuff that the city-state did to his mother and family.
So he's going to make it everyone's problem.
He's just gone wild. Yeah, he's not a good person either. Like, again, it's not to an excuse what this monster's doing, but anyway, they're like, okay, look, go back to Ryubi Village where you found those circus people and the weird mole dog. There's a guy up there who will help us make these weapons that we're going to use to defend ourselves, because they're a big army and we're not a lot of people, so we need every advantage we can get, right?
Oh yeah, the Brock character.
Yeah, so we go up into the mountains and find Brock. I think his name is Sai in this game. He's like, okay, sure, I'll come help. But it's obvious that we can't just sit around and do nothing. But then as we come back through Ryobi Village, we see that is also under attack. And we get like this PS1 CG movie, but then like it goes back to the sprites, which is honestly way better than...
Yeah, I kind of wonder why they put that in there, but whatever.
Back when this game was made, like... Everyone,
they had to.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing. Like, oh, we got to make some CG movies because 3D is amazing or whatever. But, like, that has not aged up as well as the sprites have.
Yeah.
Funny enough. So this is where we're introduced to Luca Blight, which is like the...
nutcase.
He's the prince of the Kingdom of Highland. And he's out here for blood, basically. And yeah, it's like... They're basically like, just kill everybody. But he does it, like, in the most monstrous way possible, too. Like, somebody's begging for his life. He's like, why should I spare you? And just kills him. And then this lady's like, oh, please, I'll do anything. And he's like, okay, well, then act like a pig. Get on all fours and walk around like a pig. And she does that, and she's, like, oinking and stuff. And, again, this is a video game with sprites, and they're just, like, animating all of this to just drive it home.
And then he just slits her throat anyways.
Yeah, then he's just like... He asked her to act like a pig, and then at the end he's like, okay, die pig, and he kills her anyways. And, like, you're seeing all this happen, and, like, you have the option of, like, do we run in and do something, or, like, just watch? And, well, you can't really do anything. And even if you could, if you did run in there, you'd be slaughtered. So Sai makes sure that you and Jowie don't actually go get yourselves killed. After you come back to, like, they're gone, you go back and tell Victor and Flick, like, what happened. And you guys prepare, and sure enough, the Highland army starts approaching Victor's fort, and you have your first little, I guess, Fire Emblem style battle, if you want to call it that.
Oh, yeah, because it's like, oh, you have control of this army, and you have to move it, not quite like chess piece, I guess like checkers. It's just
like Fire Emblem, yeah.
Yeah,
or like any tactical RPG like that. It's kind of simple. It's also incomprehensible sometimes. I don't really know, like, what stats determine when an attack is good or not.
Yeah, because, like, you could assume, like, oh, use archers or cavalry against the people on the ground, but sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. It's like a crapshoot.
Yeah, it's not super clear. I don't know if there's, like, some math behind it that I don't understand. Maybe there's a guide to it, but you don't have to worry about it too much here. You're only controlling your one unit, and Flick, Victor, and the others are being controlled by the AI. And I thought it was an unwinnable battle, but you hold them off for one round.
And then it becomes an unwinnable.
They're like, oh, they're attacking again, and everyone's surprised, like, what, already? So you go back out there, and there's a ton more of them. And this time, it's just unwinnable. So you get routed, and you have to flee the fort, and Jowie's like, no, we got to go get Pilika. And funny enough, you get the option of like, no, let's run away. There's many options where you can just be like...
an ass.
Cowardly, I guess. Which will come back later again and again, which is interesting when I think about it. But
so wait, can you actually leave Pilika behind?
I don't think so.
Maybe Jowie tells you to go fuck yourself.
Yeah, Jowie would probably convince you otherwise. But yeah, you have to go back in, try to find her, and she's up in the commanding area where... they hold meetings and stuff. I don't know why she's up there. I guess the other character, one of the kids from the fort, I think his name is Pol. Pohl. He's up there with Pilika and like protecting her, and like, oh no, Luca Blight's up there too. And poor old Pol, one of the nicest characters you meet, who is helping you clean up and like giving you food, he gets cut down. So he's not one of the stars of destiny. He's just dead. And then Pilika sees all this, and like it just traumatizes her.
Yeah, so much that she actually ends up going mute.
Yeah, like she's already seen like all her parents and the village destroyed, but like seeing this happen in front of her eyes too, just it fucks her up. Victor and Flick come in and they rescue you from Luca, because there's no way you're gonna fight him one-on-one and survive. You end up running away. You go through Toto again and up to Muse City, which is one of the biggest cities in the city-states. But it's on lockdown because of the invasion, so you have to go back to the inn. There's like this, it's called the White Deer Inn. It's on the road to Muse.
Yeah, it's like on the outskirts.
Yeah. You have to stay there for a while, and it turns out that they have a pass to get into the city, so you help the husband do this little dumb adventure, and he's like, okay, if we help you, can we have your pass to get into the city? He's like, all right, fine.
This husband, I don't know, maybe I'm just sensitive about it, but this husband seemed like such a dumbass. Like, this poor woman needs to, like, just fucking divorce him and leave him, and he's just so stupid. He doesn't fucking listen to anything. All he wants is whatever his little treasure idea was.
Yeah, well, he wants to find a treasure that he's heard rumors about so that they can move to the city, and like it's almost like he has the kindness in his heart. He's like, I want to give my wife a good life. I want to give her luxury and to not have to worry about things. But
yeah, but then he just ends up going so far off the deep end that he's like oblivious to fucking anything.
Yeah.
She wants anything that's happening around him.
Yeah.
Like, the whole gang of, like, 6 characters was in there. He just rushes in, doesn't even recognize that they're in there. He's just like, I'm going after this. And the wife is like, calm down. What if he, like, takes some help or something? He's like, yeah, I'll go ask for some help. And there's, like, fucking a whole party of kids right there.
Well, I mean, they're kids, so yeah.
Still, he doesn't recognize that anyone's in there.
Eventually, yeah, you have to go to the dungeon with him, which is right behind the inn, conveniently enough, I guess. And this is one of the few, like, actual dungeons in the game. Most of the time, it'll just be like you're walking through woods or a mountain pass, and it's, like, pretty straightforward. But this is, like, a dungeon where you have to find, like, puzzle pieces and put stuff around, and it's honestly not very good.
I mean, it also wasn't, like, super hard. There was only the one part when the water goes down.
Yeah.
And you have to, like, find out how to get into where the water used to be, but aside from that, it wasn't actually that bad.
This is where the battles can like start sneaking up on you with difficulty. I know we kind of got stuck with a bad party. We had like Millie, the boomerang girl, and Kinnison and Muku. So poor Nanami had to like stand in the front row, which isn't ideal because she doesn't have like the highest defense, but whatever, we got through it. There was a lot of people that got knocked out, but luckily in this game, if somebody gets knocked out, you can just heal them after. And they level up quick too. So after a few battles, everyone was leveled up pretty quickly, and it wasn't too bad. We got to the boss, which is like this double-headed snake thing, and you didn't have too much trouble with it. At this point, like,
well,
Jowie,
we had gotten the runes, right?
Yeah, at this point, we had Jowie and Ryu had gotten the true runes, which we glossed over, I guess, but that happened in Toto Village. Jowie gets the sword rune and Ryu gets the shield rune. I forget their official names.
Yeah. Can I just say here, though, that it'll come up more later, but I feel like when they got their runes, and I'm just going by, like, color theory, that I felt uncomfortable when Jowie got his rune and it was, like, red and black.
I guess, but as a sort of short spoiler for the first game, the true rune that the hero gets in the first game is also pretty bad looking. And it has a, I forget what it's called, but like the previous character that had it basically like consumed him. It's scary and it sounds really bad, but it's still ultimately up to the person what they do with the power. Even the thing was like offering them power because they were courageous and like they both needed it or wanted it to like, you know, protect their friends and family. And Jowie, even though he got, like, the sword rune, it's still, like, the power to protect his friends. And this will come up in a bit later, but...
maybe he turns around after again.
Anyway, this will come up again later, but getting back to the snake boss, like, we killed it pretty quickly. We got the treasure, which ended up just being some healing herbs. And, like, the husband was so pissed off. He's like, what kind of dumbass treasure is this plant? And he just throws it on the ground and kicks it.
Yeah, that was kind of cute. You can tell he kicks it, and it's just like moves a couple of inches.
Yeah, it's just the sprite like jiggling around. It's funny. But I mean, it does turn out to be the most important treasure because it ends up saving his wife, who ended up, I guess, getting like sick from.
I mean, she got cursed.
I guess you could see it that way. I just figured like, oh, this was something inevitable. Maybe it wasn't inevitable. But
I figured it was a curse because, like, the treasure was, like, the most important thing, which I guess, even if I argue that maybe he's not super great about it, the biggest treasure for him was, I guess, his wife.
Yeah.
So, like, he does the curse, and it's like, well, she gets sick, so he has to use the herbs to save his most important treasure.
Yeah.
But, like, he's too dumb to connect the dots.
Well, everybody is. I mean, it's up to the player. Like, oh, she's sick. We're gonna go get the healing herbs, and then you bring it back to Nanami, and like they use it on her, and she becomes better.
Like instantly.
Well, yeah, I guess it's not like she jumps out of bed and starts running around, but like she regains consciousness, and she seems to be recovering. Anyway, you get the pass from them, and then you go back to Muse, right? And you have a little funny moment where like, oh, we got to pretend to be them, so like. Nami's like, okay, I'll be the mother, Ryu, you be the husband, and Joey, you be our son.
Even though, like, okay, they don't specify age, but I guess I kind of assumed Nanami was younger than those two. But did they mention later that, like, she's actually the older sister? Or
she is the older sister, but, like, again, we don't know their ages. She could be just 1 year older for all we know.
Yeah.
They're about the same age, but, like, when you're teenagers, 1 year is a huge difference, right? So the guard is obviously like not buying this. And even Joey's like, this plan is ridiculous. Yeah. They get thrown in jail and they have this little moment where you get to decide like whose acting was the worst or whatever. It's the nothing thing, but it's just funny. Like the game
will both fucking suck.
the game has like serious moments, but it also has lighthearted moments like this. And it's funny. Then you have another reminiscence scene where like you and Joey are up at night looking to the full moon and that music kicks in and just talking about like how they met and everything. Eventually you get brought out of jail by Victor. He's like, hey, they're with us. So like, okay, fine. And then you meet Matilda, the mayor of Muse City, and her assistant's like, hey, you guys are kids. We have these youth brigade uniforms. You think you could use them to sneak into their camp and to find out if...
Did you call her Matilda?
Yeah, isn't her name Matilda?
Is Annabelle.
Oh, what's Matilda? Oh, Matilda's a different city. My bad. Annabelle. Thank you for remembering that. So Annabelle's the mayor. And anyway, her assistant was like, yeah, can you guys be our spies? And then this is like, nobody knows about this but this assistant. But Joey and Ryu want to help. So like, sure, we can jump into these uniforms again and go spy to see how much provisions they have.
Yeah, I don't know why everyone was like so surprised that they were going in and spying for them using the youth brigade. Like, I guess their faces would have been too obvious, but it's like they're kids. They were the perfect size. Like, it just seemed like it was...
Well, I think the other adults were like, you know, these kids are refugees from the war. Like, you shouldn't be using them, putting them in danger. We should be protecting them, not using them as tools.
I guess, but they're like the perfect people to use for tools.
Oh my god. So yeah, you form up a new party and you go to the camp to infiltrate them, right? You ended up picking Hana, Gengen, and Shido to join you. And they were very underleveled, so they got like wiped out instantly in every like random encounter.
Yeah, that was a little bit unfortunate.
But eventually, like, I think Gengen survived the first one. He, like, gained, like, 5 levels in one battle.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. It just kept clinking up and up and up.
There's something about the math they use for their XP. I don't know what it is exactly, but it feels like there's a target level. And if something's underneath that level, they get just huge boosted XP. So when you have characters or new characters that you want to use...
It's not going to take forever to grind them up.
Yeah. Eventually, all 3 of the characters that you brought in they basically have caught up to everyone else's level, and it was fine. But yeah, those first few battles can be rough. Anyway, you make it to camp. They infiltrate. They try to find, like, how much provisions they have. If this is going to be a long, drawn-out thing or just a quick strike. But your old commander is there, and he finds out, and they're like, oh shit, intruders, and you have to run away, and you hide inside one of the fancy tents, right? And that's where you meet, I don't remember her name, but the princess, basically Luca's little sister.
Yeah, and even they have a conversation, and even she's like, yeah, my brother's gone insane, and I don't know why. I tried to stop him, but he just will not stop, so.
Yeah, she said something interesting where it's like, the more she tried to stop him, the more he treated her as an enemy too. And that feels pretty relevant with stuff that might happen today in real life. Sometimes, like, you try to change things from inside, and some people can, some people can't. And it's just, yeah. Anyway, she helps you hide, but eventually you decide to run away. We'll have to run away, because, like, okay, I think it's clear out there. But it wasn't, because your old commanding officer was out there spying. It's like, I knew something was fishy was going on. And this is where, again, like, you might see the sword thing as bad, but Jowie was like, I'm going to protect my friends using this power. Ryu has a more defensive rune, which is like...
Well, yeah, he's got the shield.
The shield. So there's a lot of healing and defensive kind of stuff. There is like one AoE attack, but Jowie's is all about... His is the sword rune, and everything is attack, attack, attack. So he's like, okay, Ryu, run away. I'll handle this. Get everyone out of here. So, like, he's using it in a good way, right? I guess, sort of.
In this specific instance, sure. Although I'm not sure if, like, threatening the princess was super great, but yeah, I guess it worked.
I mean, yeah, they first met the princess when they were in chains to being brought out to be hung, executed, right?
Yeah.
And even then, Jowie had made a comment to her, like, I'm not going to forgive what Highland did to us. Because, yeah, they were used as pawns, and like all their friends were killed as justification for this war. Anyway, you run away. You and Nanami and the rest of the group make it back to Muse, and tell them what happened. Like, yeah, it's going to be a quick strike. All the other adults are like, I can't believe you send these kids out to do that. And now Jowie is captured, and Nanami's like, can we please, can you help us rescue Jowie? And she's like, I can't. Like, we have to worry about our town. We barely have enough to even do that. So it's like, well, I guess all we can do is hope that Jowie's okay. And Nanami's just like, he'll be back. I'm going to go stand at the gates and wait for him. And Ryu, you can go to bed if you want.
It's like, no, I'm going to stay here with you. Duh.
Yeah, and this is where you get an option. Like, you can go with her and stand by the gates of Muse City. And it's like sunset, and you get like this new angle. And it hits you with that reminiscent song again. And it's like, it's so freaking good. Like, hearing the music outside of the game is one thing, but like seeing it and hearing it in game, it's used so perfectly. Like, every time it hits me, it makes me want to choke up a bit. So you're out there with Nanami, and like, she's telling you, oh, Ryu, I'm your big sister. It's okay. I can wait. You go rest. But like, again, you can choose to stay there.
Yeah, I basically ignored her every single time. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to sit here with you.
Yeah, I think that's like the most canonical thing to do. It's the best scene to do. If you don't do that, you end up going back to the bar. Well, you don't go to the bar, but the inn is connected to the bar. So as you're going to your room, you walk through the bar, and Victor's there, and he's drinking, and he invites you over to have a conversation. And it's been so long since I've done that, I don't exactly remember what, but it's not as good. Eventually, Nanami and Jowie come in. It's like, look, he came back. It's not as satisfying. Mm-hmm. When you're out there with Nanami, like, she's like telling you, like, stories about, oh, this one time you got lost, and me and Jowie and Grandpa were waiting. No, me and Jowie were waiting while Grandpa went out to look for you, and Jowie was crying, and like, you're just having this story with her, like hanging out with your sister, waiting for your friend to come back while Reminiscence is playing. It's so good. And again, there's so many times in this scene where she's like, all right, you can go back, go rest, and you just keep telling her, no, I'm staying with you. And there's a funny point where Pilika comes in, and she's like waiting with you. She sits down, and you can be like, all right, Pilika, you wait here with her for me. I'm going back. But no, that's not what you should do.
No.
And it's such a touching scene. Like, these little sprites, there's no voice acting. It's just the sprites and the dialogue boxes and the music. But it hits so good. At least it did to me. I don't know if for somebody that like is playing it for the first time now, how it like makes you feel.
I thought it was really nice, especially like the scenery. I guess they kind of overdid the glowing of the the sun at that angle, but maybe that's how it would have been anyways. It's really red.
And again, there's so many of those little moments with the sprite animations where, like, you see Pilika, like, nodding off, and Nanami's, like, face turning up and looking over to her, and just, like, it's so well done. And then when Jowie finally does start walking in, like, she gets up and runs to hug him, and Pilika comes up behind him and hugs them, too. And it's, like, it's so touching.
It's a nice little reunion.
Yeah.
It doesn't last.
No. Eventually... We'll skip a bit, but yeah, Annabelle had mentioned, like, oh, you know, we knew your grandpa, and you can come by I'll tell you all about grandpa. Actually, this happens later because the town ends up getting attacked, right?
I guess, but there is one quick little cutscene where Annabelle's just sitting in her quarters, I guess, and there's a knock at the door, and I thought it was going to be the kids. But it turns out that it was, like, Victor, and he comes in, and I guess they're, like, vaguely flirting with each other.
Yeah. There's, like, some hint of, like...
tension.
Yeah, they were either, like, past friends or potential lovers or something, but it's never made too clear, and she's not in the first game, so it's just left to be... It's just implied. You'll in the first game you'll learn more about Victor and Flick definitely had like well, I wouldn't say fling. He had a crush on somebody back then, and there's some story stuff. Fling. But as far as like Annabelle and Victor goes, like nothing much just besides this scene that like maybe there was something there, but that doesn't get to pan out. We're skipping over the point where there's like this meeting of the city-state people. And they're like talking about the invasion and stuff, and it's just politics. And like not everybody's convinced, and some people don't want to commit to soldiers, blah, blah, blah. Who cares?
Yeah, I never really understood much about that. They're like, well, it's clear that they're setting all these villages on fire. You don't think they're going to attack you?
I mean, again, like, you can even look at it today. Clear invasions to some people aren't clear invasions.
Ugh, I guess. It's just so fucking stupid.
Yeah, even in this game, it was like, some of them are like, this is obvious what's happening, and some of the other people are like, I don't know, let's not jump the gun. Ugh. I'm not willing to commit troops, we have our own shit, blah, 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 blah. Nothing gets settled there, so it doesn't really matter too much, but it just shows that, yeah, there's some machinations going on, I guess, political stuff happening. But moving back to our own characters, yeah, they're like, okay, let's go meet with Annabelle because she knows our grandpa. Genkaku has history here in the city-state and in Muse, but we don't really get to learn exactly what happens because apparently...
Jowie has to be a dumb bastard.
Something happened with Jowie, and even he's like, am I making the right choice? At one point, he says that to you. I don't know if I'm making the right choice, but I think this is what I need to do. He ends up assassinating Annabelle. And then he runs away. And that's the last...
What a bastard.
That's the last we see of him for quite a while. After this, like, Muse is under attack, and, like, the Highland soldiers get in, and basically Muse has fallen, so you gotta run away.
Do you think any of the other... do they count as other city-states or whatever? Do you think they're like, I don't know, we're gonna be jumping the gun if we attack back at Highland or some shit?
Spoilers.
Oh, no.
So we won't go into that, but, I mean, that is the question, right? Like, what is happening to the other... Like, what's the deal with those knights that they came and helped you for a little bit in that war battle, right? And it was like, oh, thank God, like, this other, battalion of soldiers, and they're really powerful. But then later on, they're like, hey, we gotta fall back. The commander's like, we don't belong here, so they just abandon you. And it's like, what is happening? They were the only ones to show up, too, like... So between all that and, like, what's going on with Jowie and, like, what's happening and what is going to happen, like, that's where we left off. We escaped Muse, just Nanami, Ryu, and Pilika, like, and we're going down to South Widow to jump on a boat. Basically, war refugees again. Ugh. And, like, even at this point, Nanami's like, hey, maybe we should just run away from all this fighting. But she doesn't commit to it yet.
Yeah, and it's just going to follow us.
And she's like, no, I know we can't really do that. But it is a comment that she makes even at this point a few times already. And I don't know, I find that interesting. We'll get back on that, maybe.
I mean, I guess people do that in real life. It's like, oh god, I don't want to deal with this shit. Maybe we should just move. But
Yeah.
you just can't move.
It's something to think about later. So that's as far as we got, and that's basically as far as I wanted to get before asking you, like, what you thought of the game so far, and...
I'm just really fucking pissed at Joey. Dumb little bastard. But I guess he's just a kid. His brain's not going to be finished developing until he's 26 anyways. And they usually say boys take longer to finish anyways.
So yeah, it's like, do you want to keep playing with me, or are you done with it, or...
Nah, I might as well continue and see what happens. I don't know if Joey's gonna, spin around again and come back to the good side, if he's just gonna say fuck it and murder everyone of every main city somehow, or...
I will say, if this were all that there was to it, and it's as surface deep as it seems, this game wouldn't be as highly regarded as it is.
Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be turning points.
It's not... There's stuff happening, even if you don't agree and we don't agree. It's not just as black and white as it seems. And that's the thing I like about this game a lot, too. Like, it isn't all just black and white. I mean, it can seem that way, and it kind of, in some senses, obviously, like, there is right and wrong, but, like, it's not just... He's not just killing her for no reason.
I guess.
So, it's just a matter of, like, what is he doing? Why is he doing it? In his eyes, even he was struggling, like, am I doing the right thing? But, like, there are things that are happening. So it's interesting how it all fits together in the end. So, yeah.
Well, maybe I can hope just seeing the death of, Luca? Or that guy's...
Luca Blight?
Yeah. Just see him die.
The confrontation with Luca Blight is amazing. Like, okay, if you're going to keep playing it, I won't even spoil it. So,
yeah, really.
I guess that is commitment from you that, yeah, you're willing to keep playing it, huh?
Yeah, that's fair. The battle system is good.
That's the thing nice. Too. Like it's not as tedious as other JRPGs, because it not only does it have that auto battle system where, like, when you're in random encounters, sometimes auto is enough, especially later when you get really good characters.
I do kind of enjoy just sitting there watching them do their thing.
Yeah, it's really fast too. So, okay, cool. We'll keep playing it. I don't know how far we'll play.
Plus, I am also curious of, like, all the different other characters to get.
Yeah.
Like, there was the one lady, the short-haired, silver-haired lady, I guess. It's like, I kept trying to recruit her, and she would change what she said.
Yeah,
But, gotta figure out how to get her.
I don't know how to... I know there's a point later where you can bring a certain someone to her to, like, instantly recruit her, but I also think there's a way to recruit her before that. There's so many characters. And the interesting thing is, especially later on, a lot of the characters you recruit aren't even there to fight. They do other things. So it'll be interesting to see, like, what you think of the fort mechanic later on when you end up building up your own little town.
Yay, town
And granted, this is a PS1 game. It's not like SimCity. You're not going to be placing stuff down, but, like, you'll have this home base, and as you recruit people, they'll come in and do stuff. And yeah, it's really cool. So, okay, cool. I'm glad that you are enjoying it enough to want to keep playing it, so I don't have to feel like I'm forcing you to play it.
Poor you.
We'll have to see how that goes then. So that's Suikoden 2, as far as we got so far. Again, I've already played through this game multiple times, but it's fun just to see her reactions and what she thinks of everything. I don't know. Do you think we should continue this format, or do you want to just, like, stream it? Would that be better?
I'll think about streaming.
Okay. So keep an eye out for that, I guess.
Maybe next week we'll talk about other games, maybe?
Yeah, that's the thing. I as much as I love this, I don't want it to just turn into, like, a Suikoden podcast for the foreseeable future. We still have other games to talk about. Like, for me, I played a lot of Dark Cloud 2 and SnowRunners. Both good in their own ways. Like, I'm going to try to make short little videos. I've been recording my playthroughs of them. Well, I've been recording almost everything of Dark Cloud, but just grabbing a few clips here and there of SnowRunners, because SnowRunners doesn't have any story necessarily.
Yeah, that's not, like, the most engaging video game.
Yeah.
To make videos about, I don't know.
I've been using it as, like, a podcast and chill game. It's just it's something nice to
relax to almost.
Yeah, kind of like how you do with Euro Truck Sim or whatever, except this is more like, instead of in American Truck Simulator or whatever, you have your, like, they're not missions, but, like, start point, end point, right?
Yeah.
This
Yours
is like it's like an open world.
Yeah.
So you get, like, a bunch of open world maps to explore, and I think I talked about this last time, but there's like treasures hidden around in towers and stuff, and I'm just really enjoying like getting lost in the world. Yeah. Sometimes doing jobs, sometimes just exploring and finding stuff.
And apparently driving over rocks and flipping a Jeep. Yeah.
I posted that on Blue Sky. I've been posting a lot of videos on Blue Sky, so make sure to come say hi. I'm just Kamak, Camac, on Blue Sky. I'm sure you can find it easily.
Well, that seems to be pretty good for this week, so we'll leave you with that.
Yeah, okay, sure.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Take care.